Let's talk about scenes. Scenes are my absolute favorite feature of the Axe-Fx. They are incredibly powerful and enable you to do a lot of consolidation. So professionally, when I'm playing guitar, I play, well, let's see, off and on with 5 bands, but full-time with 3. So I've got a lot of different sounds, a lot of different presets. And within those bands, I'm doing gigs that sometimes cover different albums in their full, so I have a lot of different sounds, so that means a lot of different presets, which means a lot of different switching. And because of the way that the Axe-Fx is structured, and this is just kind of how everything is, switching between presets, there's going to be a little bit of a gap. Gaps are fine, they're not that big of a deal. The Axe-Fx has by far the smallest gap of any processor out there as far as the jump between changing presets, but you also run into a lot of things like when you change a preset from having a delay that's maybe at 200 milliseconds and it jumps to one that has 700 milliseconds, you're gonna get some weird stuff happening there. So the best way to deal with all of these things, a lot of presets, different settings, is to use scenes. I really love them, and I'm gonna show you how they work. Get my slide going here. I think the clicker works now. Yes, thank you, Mike. So as you can see here on the slide, this is Dweezil Zappa's rig. Dweezil is one of my favorite Axe-Fx artists, and he was one of the first real champions of the Axe-Fx. Really did a lot of great stuff for Fractal as far as getting a lot of people into the Axe-Fx, and he's a genius on it, and a genius guitar player as well. If you haven't seen Zappa play Zappa, go see Zappa play Zappa. They are unbelievable. But that said, this is his rig before the Axe-Fx on the left. Kind of a nightmare. And this is his Axe-Fx rig on the right. As you can see, it's a hugely consolidated situation going on there. I like to think of scenes as doing for your presets what the Axe-Fx has done for people's rigs like this. And there are a lot of photos online. You can go out there, you can see other guys' rigs. You know, John Petrucci, Edge, Alex Lifeson, Metallica, all these guys who had a ton of gear and are now using Axe-Fx's and less gear. But that's what scenes are going to do for your presets. So as you can see on the slide, scenes are 8 presets in one. Every preset has 8 different scenes, which is 8 different states of bypass and preset volume on the blocks already in the preset. So basically what we're going to do now, and I'm probably going to take some questions while I do this because this is going to be quite the long little series of copies and pastes here. I'm going to take everything that we just made from all those presets and I'm going to put them all into this one scenes preset. I want to mention quickly that one of the most powerful things about scenes is that on each scene you can adjust the output level, so you can have different volumes for each one, but I just want to keep in mind, and we can come back to this when we get to it, that is on output 1 only when you adjust to that. It's not going to affect output 2. And if that has changed in recent firmware, somebody on the Fractal chat room is going to correct me, but I believe that is still the case. You're welcome to chime in at any time, and I will be notified. All right, so these are our 4 presets. Clean, dirty clean, otherwise known as blues, rock rhythm, and our insane high gain preset. As you can see, they each have got kind of the same blocks, because I kind of wanted to keep it consistent, but we're using obviously very different settings on all of these blocks. So one way to do this, if you don't have a lot of instances of the same block, is to go to any given block right here. So like we'll take this compressor, and in this blocks library screen down here on the editor, you can go and you can hit this little plus and hit save. You can actually save this block to your library so that we can then go and drop it into our preset. The problem with that is that every block has an X state and a Y state. And that enables you to put one compressor block on the grid, but actually have 2 completely separate compressors right here that you can switch between using a foot pedal or actually using scenes, but I'll show you how to do that. But the issue in saving this block and putting it in our scenes preset is that it's going to actually save the X and the Y state of each one, so that if we then try and copy in another block, it's going to write over the X and the Y with a brand new X and Y. So what I'm actually going to do is, because we have a compressor in this scene and we have a compressor in this scene that has different settings, I'm going to go to my blank the rig preset here. I'm going to add a compressor block that has the settings of one of those two. I'm going to add the clean compressor, and I'm going to save it. Now remember, we've got to save every time we switch between presets or we're going to lose what we've done. So on X now, I have this clean compressor, okay? So I'm going to go into presets, and I'm going to go to the dirty clean. This is the other place we have a compressor, okay? So we use the studio compressor on this one, and these settings, right? So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go to XY, and I'm going to say copy X to clipboard. So I've copied the X state, and I have not copied the Y state. So I'm not copying the whole block. So one more time, I'm going to go here, XY, copy X to clipboard. We're going to go to presets. We're going to go, this is going to happen a lot here, so you guys follow along. We're going to do a lot of switching. This now has this X state, and I'm going to say paste clipboard to Y. So we have pasted that studio compressor from the blues one to the Y state. So on X, we have the clean one, and on Y, we have the blues one. I hope you guys got that. All right, so that we're going to be doing a heck of a lot of that. Okay, so now we have one block. I want to talk about utilizing the grid more effectively. So, what was I saying? Right, okay. Utilizing the grid more effectively. So we're going to add some shunts here, and I'm going to go all the way across until here. We're not going to go to the output, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to do this feedback send. Basically what that's going to do is it's going to send the signal from here to this next block I'm going to put, which is going to be the feedback return. And then I'm going to put this all the way to the output. And what that's done is draw a line down here. So we're getting, instead of just one line across, we're getting all this block space. And we're going to adjust this in a minute. But we get all this block space that we didn't have before. So we're going to save this. And now I'm going to embark on this journey of doing quite a lot of copying and pasting. So what I'm going to do is go in, and I've done a little bit of the cooking show thing and prepped a little bit of this beforehand. So I've saved a couple of these presets blocks already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add a drive block. And under that, I've already added the blues drive. So we've got that. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add this amp block. And I have not saved one of those. Oh, I did. Okay. I'm going to put the bass min amp in there. Now we have 4 amplifiers because we have 4 presets. And we have 2 amplifier blocks available to us. So we're going to put both amplifier blocks in, and then we're going to copy the 4 amplifier blocks to X1 and Y1 and X2 and Y2. So on this first X state, we're going to have our preset from the clean. And on this X state, we're going to have the preset from the blues amp. And then on the Y states, we're going to put our high gain and our rock rhythm. But for now, we're going to leave that there. Going to route these in parallel. And then because we don't want any 2 amps on at the same time, we're going to set this bypass mode to mute, which means that when this is bypassed, you're not going to hear that amplifier, and you're not going to hear this dry signal coming through either. It's going to mute this entire line right here. But yeah, so basically to change gain, as far as the level of gain in an amplifier, you would use a controller. But for this, yeah, as far as going from like a clean to a really high gain, sure. So I'm going to speed this up here because this is going to take a minute. And I'm happy to take any questions as long as you guys kind of understand what I'm doing. I'll show you with the amp block, and then we can kind of expedite it. But I'm going to move in. So just one more time. On the X of this first amp, we have our clean amp, the 59 bass guy. And on the X of this amp, we have our blues amp, okay? So I'm going to go into our rock preset now. And this amplifier, I'm going to copy the X state to the clipboard, right? And I'm going to go back into our rig preset, and I'm going to paste that onto the Y state. So paste clipboard to Y. So now, in this one amplifier block, I have the bass guy on the X and our plexi on the Y. Okay, and I'm gonna save that, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the high gain. I'm gonna go to our high gain preset, and I'm gonna copy the X state to the clipboard. So now we have our FAS modern amplifier. I'm gonna go into the rig, and I'm gonna paste that onto the Y state of this one. So we've got the blues amp on the X, and our high gain on the Y. So does everybody kind of get what's going on there? X, blues, Y, brutal, insane, high gain. All right. So with the
Cooper, actually, one quick question based on this. Just upgraded the latest firmware, but I don't see any XY parameters in the compressor block. Does it need to be enabled somewhere?
Interesting. Are you in the edit? Do you have the latest version of the editor as well? Would be my response question to that.
Okay. I guess we'll wait to see that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure what would be going on there, but you should have an XY state on pretty much every block. There are a couple blocks that don't have it. I believe the rotary, for one, doesn't have an XY because it uses an enormous amount of CPU because it's got its own cabin in there. 90% of the blocks have XYs, so, okay. And the compressor certainly does. So, okay. On the drive block here, we've got the blues drive. Did I already? I think I might have already copied that. Nope, we did not. All right, so we're just going to go through here and going to start copying blocks. So from this clean, we kind of got to make a list of what we got. We got the compressor, which we already got. We got the chorus. Got the amp, which we already got. We got the cab. We got the delay and the reverb. So let's do the chorus. So I've already saved this clean chorus. What other preset do we have a chorus in? I put a chorus on the high gain, I believe. Yes. Okay, so what we're going to do is copy the chorus out of the high gain. I'm going to say copy X to clipboard. We're going to go into the rig preset, and we're going to put a chorus block where that rotary that I put in for no reason is. We're going to import this from the library, the clean chorus, and then on the Y state of that, we're going to paste the chorus from the high gain. Paste clipboard to Y. So on the X, we've got our chorus from our clean tone, and on the right, on the Y rather, we've got our digital stereo chorus from the high gain tone. So we're going to save this again and go in. And again, as long as everybody's kind of got this, I'm going to not talk as much about it because we got to kind of get through it here. I'm going to do the cabs next. So we've got 4 different cabinets. So I'm going to save this one. We're going to call it clean cab. Oh, turned out I already did that, so we don't need to do that. Perfect. So I'm going to go into the rig then, and basically what I'm doing is I'm saving in the library 2 cabinets and then copying the Y state of the other 2, because if you saved all 4 in the library, you only have 2 cab types available to you, cab 1 and cab 2, so the other 2 would overwrite them when you called them up, okay? The other thing I want to do is route both of these into both of these, because we're going to use different amps for different cabs, so they all need to talk to each other. I don't know why I just put cab 2 there, cab 1 there, and cab 2 there. Okay, there we go. All right, so on this one, we're going to pull up the blues cab. Actually, for sanity's sake, I'm going to pull up the clean cab. And on this one, I'm going to pull up the blues cab. So, all right, there you go, and double verb mix. So on here, and I accidentally did these on Y, so we're going to swap X and Y, just so this is not anything you need to follow along on. I just didn't do it correctly, so.
I guess one of the other questions about the XY
Sure.
is, what is the difference between X and Y, and does it matter where something goes?
There is no difference between X and Y until you make there be a difference between X and Y. So by default, X and Y are going to be 2 separate things, just so you have 2 different options to play with. So like if I add, see something we don't have, a flanger. If I add a flanger block here, you're going to see that on X, you've got a digital mono flanger, and on Y, we've got the same digital mono flanger. I guess some blocks default to separate things. The amp block, which I can't reset because we have one, but it'll do like a 59 bass guy, and then I think whatever amp you were using before. But programming-wise, there's no difference. You can put them wherever you want. But as you're seeing here, and as I'll show you when we start programming the actual scenes, it's very powerful for what options you have available to you. So for example, we have only 2 cab blocks, but we can actually have 4 cabs, one on X, one on Y, and one on X2 and Y2.
So in a lot of ways, I mean, this is a subjective but also a very objective process. I mean, because ultimately you're creating tones based on the sound, but not necessarily, you don't necessarily need to put any one thing in any one place. You can really do it however it does sound correct to you. Am I
Sure, yeah.
on
There's
that
going to
right?
be no sonic difference between X and Y, though.
Okay.
I mean, at least on the surface. I mean, you're going to put separate settings on them, so they'll sound different. But as far as, Y having a tonal benefit over X, there's not one. All right, so this is our dirty clean, which we already have in the cabs. So the 2 cabs that we need to get now are the rock rhythm, which is this own hammer mix here. And we're going to copy this to the clipboard and then go into our rig. And if I'm moving too fast for anybody, please tell me.
I think some of the our product specialists in the chat room kind of mentioned some of the extra things about the XY. Mark 1 and Mark 2 XFX2 have less XY blocks than the XL, so there are some differences in there.
That is true. Yeah, that was something I should have mentioned. The XL, given the increased preset per preset memory, is going to allow you to have more going on in XYs. So yeah, if you're on a Mark II, I might be adding some things that are not available to you. So you should get an XL. So I copied that. I'm going to paste this, the clipboard to Y. So now on cab 1, we have the top boost, which we used for our clean. And on X, we have our rock tone cab. So I'm going to save this again, and I'm going to go and get the cabinet from our high gain preset. And in our high gain preset, we've got this 5153 mix ultra res. I'm going to copy this to the clipboard and then go into our rig preset again. It's going to be a lot of going into this rig preset. And I'm going to paste that to Y. Okay, so now what we've got is our amplifiers. We've got our clean and our rock. And here we've got our blues and our high gain. These are discrete amplifier states, 2 completely separate amplifier types in one block. So now in this one preset, we have a model based on a Bassman, we have a model based on a Plexi, we have a model based on a Fender Twin, and we have a high gain proprietary fractal model, which is basically like a super high gain amplifier like you'd get from a Mark IV or a 5153 or that sort of thing. So in this one preset, we have 4 different amplifiers and 4 different cabinets. We have 2 compressors, 2 drives, and 2 choruses, and we're about to start adding even more stuff. So we're going to save this.
You have the through on a lot of your amps?
Yeah,
and
I
types?
haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to have to start changing the state of some of these things eventually. I've still got to get through all the copy-paste first. Okay, so in here, the blocks that we have, we got to start doing the reverbs, also these tremolos. So I saved that one already. Let's, yep. Okay.
So Cooper, maybe an extra question kind of while you're doing the copy and
Yeah,
paste
please,
thing
yeah,
here.
because this is going to take
This is
a
a
minute.
good one. When dealing with scenes, how do you think it contributes to the CPU usage versus not using scenes?
Well, the scenes are all there by default. Scenes are not going to change your CPU by their very nature. However, the amount of stuff you might pack into one preset to create a preset with this many scenes very well might. So it's all about the blocks. So the number of blocks you have and what types of blocks they are determining your CPU usage. So we'll see. I mean, you can watch the CPU meter up here at the top. 64, every time we add something else, it's going to start hopping up. Using 2 amplifiers, we'll use a lot of CPU. Using 2 cabs, if I were to put 2 rotary blocks in here, we would probably, I might hit the CPU just from that, but we're not going to put 2 rotary blocks because we didn't use any. Again, I'm just placing the tremolo here for those who are following along. But yeah, the CPU is determined only by the number of blocks you're using. So by default, I mean, if I'm in this high gain preset right now, I can click through preset 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We didn't set them to anything, scene rather, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're not set to be any particular thing, but they're all here all the time. So they're not actually using any CPU just by virtue of their existence. So does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Thank you so much.
Cool, yeah.
And I know that there's a lot of users out there that have different versions of the firmware, different versions of the editor.
I highly recommend upgrading everything as we're doing this, guys. It really will help you following along. And also, there's a reason these things are upgraded. It's because they tend to improve. So go ahead and grab the latest version of FractalBot, which will allow you to easily update your Axe-Effects with the latest version of the firmware. And also grab the Axe-Effects Axe Edit. They're available on the same page. I believe it's support.fractalaudio.com.
And I wonder, is there a tonal difference in the Axe-Effects 2 and the Axe-Effects 2 XL?
There is no tonal difference. There's not even any CPU difference. The only difference there are a lot of differences in the XL actually, but I was here at CreativeLive talking about all the differences in the XL and caught a lot of flack for a little slip up where I said that it was the only one that could have ultra res, but you can get ultra res IRs in your Mark II as well, and your Mark I. There's no tonal difference between them. It has expanded preset memory as well as a lot of additional presets themselves, but there is no difference tonally. So I'm gonna swap these. What I'm doing now is I'm pasting the, I will say actually though that on the XL, the noise floor is much lower. There's been some special stuff done to that. So when you're running 4-cable method or you're running into the front, the noise in general, which was already industry standard low, is even lower. So there is that.
Wow, that's hardware updates then.
Yeah, the updates to the XL are great, and I highly recommend getting one. You can go online and look at the one sheet, and if those changes appeal to you, I would definitely recommend picking one up. They're great. And the price difference between the XL and the Mark II is pretty slight, given what you're getting out of it. So, again, not trying to bore anyone here. We're just having to kind of copy and paste this, and I chose to do it live because I wanted you guys to see the process. I could have done this all beforehand, obviously, but I thought it would be good for you all to see what I'm doing. If anybody thinks it's too dry, you can kick back and relax for a minute. I'm copying I'm going to save this high gain drive here. And go put this in our rig preset. So what I've done here is I've copied the drive from the blues onto X, and onto the Y I've put the fuzz. And so I need a separate drive block for the high gain. We don't have a fourth drive tone, so I'm not going to use both X and Y. I'm just going to use the X, and I'm going to pull up the high gain drive we have there. Bypass both of these. And let's save it again and go back. We've got a couple more things to grab, and then we will be done. Well, done with this part.
Ben, you?
I've used it a little bit because I used my Line 6 device as a foot pedal, and it really helped out with
MIDI routing.
With the MIDI routing and just switching the scenes.
That's tough getting the Line 6 pedal to work for the Axe-Effects.
Yeah, there's some great topics on the forum, and some people put up, I don't remember who did it, but complete tutorials, and they first time got it all set up, so it was really helpful.
Awesome.
Perfect.
And if you get a little more adventurous, you can use your DAW to send the MIDI signals also to switch the scenes for you
so
in the middle of a recording, and then it just does all the switching for you, so you can just focus on guitar playing if you're not an expert like myself. And you don't have to worry about hitting the right pedals and all that kind of stuff in the middle of the song.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that we're going to be talking about the MFC controller as well here later on in the course, so that kind of functionality makes the workflow so much easier, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And scenes, for that matter. I mean, really, it's consolidating your workflow into these segments that you can quickly kind of flash between and toggle. That's it's pretty fantastic.
Okay, so we're going to copy this one, and then we'll be all set here. Copy that to Y. Paste that to Y. Okay, so now what we've got here is we basically have all of our blocks from those presets into this one rig. And as you can see, for those who are watching the CPU, we're at 88, which is a little below the danger zone. If you're running your Axe into your DAW and using it as a sound card, that will pop your CPU up just a little bit. And you might, when you get around 93, you might encounter some issues trying to run audio through it and play at the same time. But I do want to stress that we have an insane amount of stuff going on in this preset at the moment. And we're about to have just one little more bit of insanity here. Yep, there you go. So there's where we hit the CPU, and this happened last night, and I thought I had a way around it. But, okay, so let's see here. We'll save this. And what we're going to do, and here's a trick for if you hit the CPU limit on your Axe and you want to do some more stuff. There are settings in the cab blocks where you can reduce the resolution of the cabs. Right now, these are ultra-res cabs. And ultra-res is a better cabinet. It uses more processing power. And also, I want to stress how slight the differences are, especially in a live scenario between ultra-res and normal res cabinets. Normal res cabinets are already higher res than other modelers on the market. And so they sound fantastic, and they were the standard for a long time until ultra-res came around. And so lowering the res of these cabs to normal is going to save us some CPU. You see it just jumped down. And in the studio, you wouldn't really be using scenes like this because this is so you can access all of this stuff at the same time, which is very much tailored to a live scenario. And the difference between the cabs is not going to translate that obviously live. So we've lowered the resolution. I actually only needed to lower the resolution on one of the cabs. I did it on two just for kicks. But what that's going to do is allow us to put this reverb block in here. And I'm going to go ahead and throw on this blues spring reverb that we have, and then go in and copy the other reverb and put that in there too. So let's go in and get the high gain, or I'm sorry, not the high gain. Let's go in there and get the rock rhythm reverb, which is the hall, which may pop the CPU over again, in which case we're going to do one more thing. Let's go up, and this will be our last block here. Paste clipboard to Y. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so now we've got the spring and the hall. And just for kicks, to see how intense we can get here, I'm going to risk putting one more reverb in. And we're at 93, which I feel pretty good about. We're not trying to run audio. We will see what happens, though.